So I just filmed this whole 20-minute review of the Samsung S20 Ultra out of focus. What's going on, guys? My name's David Tomic and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the S20 Ultra and my experience over the last 3 months. The fact that I'm starting this video with an out of focus complaint is the very reason why I'm making this video. So today we're going to be talking about my personal experience using this as my daily driver, from everything from the display all the way down to the battery quality, how I found it to be in a day-to-day situation, and all the little bits and pieces that I found not worth the 2,000 Australian dollar price it costs today in 2020. So first of all, let's talk about the display and start on a positive note. The display is phenomenal. The 120 Hz refresh rate, the color clarity, the sharpness, everything about this screen is so appealing to the eye. It is by far the best screen I've ever seen on a smartphone. Now, I'm no MKBHD and I haven't seen every single smartphone on the market, so I can't say it's the best in the world, but it is definitely the best I've seen in my personal lifetime. As most of you are probably aware, you can't use 120 Hz on this device at its highest setting. Samsung just doesn't allow you, unfortunately. It says that it drains the battery too fast, but I personally would have liked to see that option as just a, yep, okay, whatever, that's my fault and my risk if I lose 50% battery in half a day instead of only using 10%. But that might come in a later software update, so let's stay tuned and keep our fingers crossed. Unlocking this phone has actually been quite a pleasure. Having the under glass fingerprint reader in conjunction with the face unlock has made it very simple to unlock this phone at any given time. Having the position of the under fingerprint reader as such a small central location probably isn't the best. I would have liked to see it a little bit better, and it did take me about a week to get used to the position. But after that time, I really was able to unlock this phone very fluidly, almost 99% of the time, with either the fingerprint scanner or the face unlock. It's very rare that I have to use the password anymore. So that is definitely a good feature and something I'd like to see continuously improved, so that after a little bit of time, we don't really even have to touch it properly to unlock the phone. But when we do unlock the phone and open up the camera app, you're probably going to see the same issues I experienced today and every other day I record a YouTube video. The S20 Ultra has such a huge sensor in such a small device that its depth of field isn't perfect. And its focusing in 4K, especially video recording mode, is average at best. What you'll find, because that's what I've found and many other users have found as well, is the fact that it can't focus very well on close-up subjects or far away subjects. In 4K or 8K video recording, it doesn't have auto face tracking, it doesn't have auto subject tracking. So if I was to move around violently in this video, it wouldn't stay in focus. I don't want to, because of the very simple fact that I've just managed to get it in focus again. So if I move too much and get it out of focus, well, then it's going to take me 20 minutes to bring it back into focus and get it right for you guys. As it is, I'm already using an iPad with the screen mirrored, so I can actually keep an eye on it, because I'm so sick of repeating myself 100 times over to make sure everything's in focus. Even when we're talking about photography of small objects or up close objects, the main 108 megapixel sensor camera is not the best. It tends to produce depth of field and bokeh way too early in the object, and it blurs out maybe from here backwards instead of all the way back. Or for example, my ears could be completely blurred out and the front of my face in focus. So it is having trouble finding focus, and there have been some updates which have made it better, but it still isn't perfect, which makes me a little bit cautious and a little bit worried that the simple fact is this is a hardware problem and not a software problem. The ultra wide camera, which is definitely one of my most used and favorite pieces of hardware on this device, is only 12 megapixels. It isn't the best camera in the world, it isn't the worst camera in the world. It produces very high-end quality images, but not as high-end as the main camera. I would have liked to see a much higher spec in the ultra wide, because that's something I personally use a lot. I feel like a lot of people like the ultra wide because it gives it the more natural, more realistic interpretation of the world. But hey, maybe the next S20 series will see that in. And the zoom camera, well, I'm hoping that you've seen my last video on the SpaceX zoom comparison. It's pretty good, up to about 30 times zoom. Anything over 30 times zoom starts to get very blurry, very noisy, and kind of unusable by the time you get to 100 times zoom. So it's a nice feature to have, it's a nice gimmick to show off to people, but that's about it. You can't really get the best quality images out of it unless you have a tripod, unless you have perfect conditions, unless there's no wind and blah, blah, blah. It's really a gimmick at the end of the day and something that has sold this phone to many people. So props to Samsung for trying to get innovative technology into phones so early, but at the same time, I wish they would have waited a year or two before they brought out this technology before it wasn't absolutely perfect. If you're unaware, this phone is also capable of recording in 8K. Now, I record all my YouTube videos in 4K, not 8K, not 1080p, not anything else. Why? Because it seems like this device is optimized for 4K. 1080p is very noisy and very grainy. 4K, the colors just aren't right. There's something wrong with the 4K settings. I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's just the environment I'm in, maybe it's the studio lighting and the backlighting, but 8K just doesn't work properly in this situation. In an outdoor situation, it's pretty good, but I think at the end of the day, the 4K is the most optimized on this device and is by far the best for everyday usage. Something that really surprised me was the speakers on this device. I didn't really expect them to be amazing, but combined with the screen, the dual speakers, and the Dolby Atmos system inside, it's phenomenal. Like, the first time I watched a YouTube video on this device, I was mesmerized, I was blown away, I was immersed in that experience. I'm not usually like that on a tablet or a smartphone. I have a full home theater with a surround sound system, so I know what good quality sound should be. Yes, I know that's ironic considering most of my videos have terrible sound, but we'll skip past that point. The speakers on this device are actually really, really good. They're crystal clear, they're really loud at times, and combined with the screen, like I said, they make a really good viewing experience. The fact that the battery on this device is also super large makes it a great complementary feature. The fast charging was something I never thought I'd use either, but the fact that I can forget to put my phone on charge at nighttime, leave it at my bedside table instead of on the opposite side of the room because I turn my alarm off and then just go straight back to sleep if it's not, means if I forget to charge it at nighttime, in half an hour, in an hour, it can be fully charged or 50% charged. That means I can go throughout my whole day and still not drain this battery to its absolute minimum. If I'm using this device pretty heavily on a day, phone calls, videos, photos, everything, I don't think I usually use more than 50%, which means in half an hour in the morning, I can get my phone to nearly full very quickly without having to worry about charging it overnight for hours on end. So what's my verdict on the S20 Ultra? Should you buy it? Should you wait? Should you just skip it completely? Well, personally, I think that it is a very good device. The 120 Hz refresh rate makes it something really pleasurable to use every single day. It doesn't hurt your eyes as much as normal devices do. But I think if you're buying it for the purpose of the camera, it isn't there yet. The focus and depth of field problems are too much to shy away from. The fact that it's continuous in every one of my videos and I have to re-record things consistently is really frustrating and really annoying. Now, for me personally, if this was a day-to-day device, it could be anything. But because it was a device specifically purchased to replace my DSLR, it isn't everything. So having said that, I think if the iPhone 12 comes out with 120 Hz refresh rate, a USB-C charger, and a really, really good camera combination on the back to take on this monster, it might be something worth considering. If you're in the same boat, looking at purchasing an S20 or potentially the iPhone 12 at the end of the year, definitely wait to see what the comparison is going to be like. But at the moment, with the software issues and potentially the secret hardware issues, I don't think the S20 is the perfect photography videography camera. I do think it's a great device in general. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it besides from some very picky, pedantic bits and pieces. but overall it's a solid 9 out of 10. Anyway, that's all for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you smash that subscribe button 2020 style. Help me get to that 5K subscriber mark. And when we do, I'll make sure to do another big giveaway. So until then, as always, I'll see you next Monday.